Dear listeners, welcome to SADF Talks. I'm your host, and today we are focusing on Nepal, a country that transitioned to a federal democratic republic in 2008 but continues to wrestle with the promises and pitfalls of that transformation. In recent months, Nepal has been rocked by a landmark corruption case involving former Prime Minister Madhav Nepal, raising serious questions about political accountability. At the same time, coalition instability, exacerbated by the withdrawal of key Madhesi parties, has left the government vulnerable and the public increasingly disillusioned. Yet, as recent commentary suggests, the frustration lies more with political leadership than with democracy itself. To unpack these developments and explore Nepal's political pulse and human rights lens, I'm joined by Dr. Pramod Jaiswal, Research Director at NIICE and a leading expert on Nepal's domestic and foreign policy. Let's dive in. Welcome, Dr. Pramod Jaiswal.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, Dr. Pramod, Nepal's political scene has been turbulent lately. What does the corruption case against former Prime Minister Madhav Nepal reveal about the state of political accountability?
As you just said that at the moment Nepal is under very chaotic situation because there's lots of ups and downs into politics. There is like we have got frequent in last 4 years we have got a change of government for three times. Uh, Generally, if you look at Nepal's history, every year we have a new prime minister. So this is the situation here at the moment. What is most frustrating at the moment is the number of corruption charges, especially the home ministers. As you mentioned, that the former Prime Minister Madhav Nepal has been charged. He's going through uh, the verdict at the moment. Similarly, the former Home Minister is in jail at the moment, who represent Rashtriya SADF Party, a group of youth, where people had hope that because he was a journalist, overnight he got huge majority, he became a home minister, and then he was charged of number of charges. So I think the situation here is very fragile because, as I said, the number of home ministers are charged on different charges, different corruption charges. Prime minister, it has reached to the prime minister. Frequent change of government has made people frustrated, and it is in this situation where we have got COVID and economy is not doing well. So I think the situation here is very frustrating, especially at the moment. And this is clearly seen where we see huge number of Nepalese youth migrating to Gulf and other countries. Huge number of migration. I mean, if you go to Nepalese airport, an international airport, you see a crowd of people every day. It says that more than 2,000 people go for foreign employment from a country like Nepal. So I think these are very alarming situation at the moment.
It is indeed a very fragile situation because I remember going back to Nepal in 2023. Even on that year, there was some sort of changes were going through, and people were so frustrated. And you are right, in spite of the fact that Nepal is a heavenly place for tourists, and it's a popular destination from everyone from the world. In spite of that, the local people are leaving Kathmandu, leaving Nepal. This is very frustrating indeed. So, the Madhesi Party, what is happening after their withdrawal from the coalition, whether it has shaken the current government, how fragile is Nepal's coalition politics today?
If you look at current situation, the two largest party are in power. Nepali Congress, which is a Democrat, and CPN UML, which is a Communist party, are in power, which is very unique. I mean, two opposition parties are together. That makes them very strong. It should be very strong. But the situation is that in spite of Nepal's two largest party coming together, the coalition is very fragile. There's lots of misunderstanding. They are saying that it's a very unholy alliance. It's an opportunistic alliance where there were charges against a leader from Nepali Congress, and obviously CP and UML are not having a wonderful time, so they clubbed together on the basis of opportunism. So I think, in spite of the two largest parties coming together, the government is very fragile. The government can collapse anytime. Second is that there's huge disenchantment among the people, especially the Madhesi parties, because since Nepal got new constitution, their demands are still not fully addressed. They has been demanding for it several times. Even people of Madhes are frustrated with the Madhesi parties because when they had got power, they have not addressed those questions. So I think overall the situation here is so fragile that anything can happen anytime. And I'll give you an example. When we had an election recently, Maoist was the third largest party. They came to power, and then they keep on changing alliance with KP Oli, then which is from CPN UML, then another alliance with the Nepali Congress, again going back to KP Oli, and then KP Oli joined hands with the Nepali Congress. So you can see that frequent musical chair of the prime minister post has made people really hopeless at the moment. And as I said, the new party that has emerged during last election was Rashtriya Swatantra Party, where they got huge support from youth, the people who use Twitter, social media, who want change, who are quite frustrated with all those. They saw new party as a hope, and then again the head of that party became a prime home minister, and then he's now in jail on different charge. So I think the situation is very difficult at the moment, where there is huge frustration among the people at the moment.
Can you highlight to our listeners about the demands that are made by Madhesi Party?
The major demand of Madhesi Party is one, representation. If you look at Nepal's demography, you can or you can say structure, you can see that Nepalese Madhesis are still not well represented in bureaucracy, in military, or in different forms of government. So that is what is there. That there is a struggle for power. That is one. Second is that even the constituent electoral constituencies are not equally divided. If you look at Madhes, the population of Madhes is almost 50%, which is not only Madhes, it has both Madhes and Pahari. But the 20 districts of Madhesis have almost 50% population, but they're not getting 50% of the seats. So if you want to be elected in Madhes, you might have to get almost deal with 60,000 to 1 lakh people. While if you go to Upper Hills, in 10,000 people, you can be, your constituency has only 10,000 population. So there is huge discrimination in that sense. Look at the number of Madhesis in army, it's almost negligible. Or in bureaucracy, it's very low. Media, so in every sector, Madhesi are not well represented. That's one of the major demand at the moment. In spite of that, there are citizenship issue at the moment where they don't get equal access to citizenship, and all the other problems are there at the moment. In terms of delivery, the budget allocations are very low in Madhes. That's why you can see that in spite of having a huge opportunity in Madhes in terms of connectivity, trade, due to lack of budget, due to lack of state support, Madhes has not been flourishing a lot. And on the contrary, Madhes collect huge revenue, and that is contributed to the nation's economy. So these are the major demand that Madhesi have at the moment.
Due to all this chaos, chaotic situation, public frustration is rising. But many commentators, I have been reading the newspapers, Himalayan Tribune and Kathmandu Post and things like that. And then I have seen that commentators are arguing that this frustration is directed towards leaders. It doesn't have anything to do with the democratic system itself. Do you agree with that assessment?
Yes, I mean, the alternative for democracy is democracy. So that is what we all Nepalese agree, and we have fought for this democracy. We have brought it with long struggle, with bloodshed. We have to sacrifice our lives. So that is how we have got this democracy. What is frustrating is that the top leader of all the parties has been in power several times, and they continue to be in power. So what is happening is that the youth of all the parties are not getting opportunities to come to power, bring changes. So that is frustrating. It's not that we are frustrated with democracy, we are frustrated with the political parties, where the top leaders who are above 60 has not allowed any of the young people to come to power. And they have been in power, they have been the prime minister for 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, and they have failed to deliver. So this is the major problem here, that the frustration is among the people on the political party and the leaders, not on democracy as a system.
So let us talk about this monarchy debate and democratic backsliding. There is renewed discourse around the return of the monarchy. What's driving it, this sentiment, and how seriously should it be taken?
The same issue that we just discussed, the corruption, youth not getting enough opportunity, economy not doing well, and the huge migration. All this frustration has fueled a kind of monarchy movement. We overthrew monarchy in 2008, and we take it as one of the major achievements because we overthrew almost 200 years old system, the king, and we got a republic where we elect our president. So this was a huge achievement for us, but we expect that to translate into change where we can see those changes taking place in our lives, which has not taken place at the moment. So what we realize is that when we overthrew the king, new king has born. The political leaders has emerged as a new king, and that is what frustrates the common people. They realize that the new parties who came to power, they did not deliver. Rather, they start looking for themselves. They start getting involved in corruption. So that is one major demand at the moment. That people are saying that monarchy has been replaced by elected dictators, you can say, or leaders who have not been able to deliver, incompetent leaders or corrupt leaders. So that is a very serious question at the moment. Second is that within the party there is lack of democracy. The senior leader are there in the party, and the other people who are young, they're not able to challenge their senior leader. The moment they are challenged, they are sidelined, or they are suppressed, or they are charged on disciplinary action against the party. So all those are not good for Nepal's democracy, and that is the major problem here. But the problem here, another major problem is that even the monarchy movement is not fully monarchy movement. There is some demand for a monarch, because what happened is that moment we overthrew monarch, for some time they were not heard. But since political parties have not delivered, they have started coming with the demand that, okay, look, monarchy system was better, we had good times, which are not true. 200 years of monarchy was full of suppression. But they bring one. Sometime they might have delivered in terms of economy, sometime in terms of foreign policy they might have done well. They bring one, pick few examples, and then they try to portray that monarchy had done remarkable in Nepal, which is false narrative that is being built. So, and they are able to win heart of those frustrated youth, frustrated people. So that is one. A monarchy is trying to make use of the frustration that is there in the politics of Nepal. Second is that within the party there is a lack of coordination. There is huge bitter difference among the party. So when there is one party in power, the opposition also try to provoke those monarchical movement so that they can challenge the government, elected government who is in power. So they are also, opposition is also trying to provoke those kind of movement to, so that it can have difficulty to the ruling alliance. So that is second factor. But in this whole process, we don't see monarchy coming back, king coming back. The reason are several. One is that though Nepal had democratic movement 2006 and 8, which overthrew the monarchy, I personally think that that was partially true. Half of the contribution was by the movement, but I think the half reason was that the monarchy itself, the institution itself, had so polluted that monarchy had to exit. We had a king, and there was royal massacre, where the entire family of the king was massacred, and it was reported that it was the crown prince. Now, people also doubt someone else, but what was there, even that someone else was within the family of the king. So the institutions where king was seen as an incarnation of God, Vishnu's avatar, people started questioning, how could God die? How could God not protect his family? And how could God, if can't protect himself and his family, will protect millions of common Nepali? That was the biggest question that came to the mind of the people. That royal massacre was the end of the institution of monarchy on that particular day. Then after that, we got a king who did not have a good reputation. His son has even horrible track record. Who can be a new king, future king? So that's another indicator that when the king died, we did not have alternate king. We didn't have other king who can be like a king. So that is the second factor that is there at the moment. Right now, though people are demanding for king, there is no king factor. There's no king person who can be a
There
king.
is a king-like persona.
Yeah, there's no king like person. Third is that leadership. There's no there are different small political parties who support Hindu agenda, who support monarchy, and they're not united. They are fragmented in four factions. So there's no leadership which can try to work for that, getting the king back. On top of that, most important, there's lack of vision. People are frustrated. But people are not frustrated that they just want to keep on changing the king. People are frustrated and they want change in their lives. So these monarchical groups, the king is also not able to come to the people and say, look, this is what my vision is. I'll bring change and then I'll deliver. So he's not coming with that agenda, that plan, that vision that can convince the people. So these are the major factors that we don't see the revival of king. First, we don't have king like person. Second, they don't. The king is not coming with a vision which can win the heart of the people, frustrated youth or the common people. Third, there is lack of leadership. I mean, there are different fragmented groups who are just fighting for their own power. Who thinks that maybe if king come back, I'll be the prime minister. So these struggle of power are there. On top of that, Nepali society has a long transition. We overthrew king in 2008 and it's 2025. So in this whole decade, Nepalese society has matured. We know how democracy functions. We have understand its shortcomings. Our media is robust. So we don't see the king coming back to power at the moment.
Right. So let me ask you this question, because you have talked about two major problems. One is corruption, that I understand, and another one is not having common point of discourse among the political parties, even within themselves, with each other. So these are the two major problems. So how do you see in the future that you will tackle the problem of corruption? Because Nepal has is one of the South Asian countries whose laws are quite unique and quite westernized laws. So how do you think that, in spite of having so many good laws, that corruption is still taking place, and what are you recommending that is needful to fight corruption?
Actually, as we just said, that the huge number of corruption cases had just come at the moment in recent 5-10 years. That shows that Nepalese society is corrupt, political leaders are corrupt. But it also shows that institutions are working. That's why you're coming with those charges. Otherwise, Madhav Nepal is charged for something that took place 15 years ago.
Hmm.
So this is also one indicator that we are moving towards progress. Now, this if a prime minister who was prime minister of Nepal 15 years ago can be charged on corruption today, I mean, every political leader or bureaucrat has to think about it. Maybe even if you are retired, you can be charged. So that is one. Second, with digital technology, all those institutions coming into place, now those files are being, digitalized, they are reviewed, and now institutions are made accountable. People are coming with their records, and people can record and come with in the public that So the people are scared now. It's not that obviously the corruption is there, it might have increased, but at the same time the institutions that can control corruption has also been more effective. Or even if they are not, people are now demanding that, people can demand that, people can come with a proof, people can unite. So that is the change here. That's why you can see number of cases coming at the moment. So I think in spite of that, I think we are hopeful. I mean, we are not yet fully frustrated, we are not yet worried that democracy is at risk. If people like home minister are in arrest, are in jail, which is it's not a small thing. They are the one who control the whole system, and now they're in jail. So I think these are remarkable changes that we can see at the moment. We could not witness such changes during monarchy or in the past.
What about this political discourse, lack of faith and trust within the political parties? How do you solve this problem?
uh, what is like at the moment what we can see is that the political leader of all the major parties, especially the second rank leaders who are young, who the youth, they have a different level of understanding. I think we are more hopeful for that. So now there are demand in each party that the youth or the second rank leader has to come over to replace their old generations. And I think there is to some extent there is some realization that they can't last long. So now even today, the head of Nepali Congress said that now it's time for me to retire and then maybe give way to the new leadership. I think that is a kind of realization has come among all the political parties, because at the in Nepal we have an independent party leader coming more powerful. There's a in Nepal the mayor of Kathmandu is a rapper, and he got huge support. So that is posing a threat to the political parties. Your ideology and all have no use at the moment if you can't deliver. This is a clear signal to all the political parties that you don't care you are a Democrat, you don't care you are a communist, as long as you deliver. So this is this message that is very clear to the people. Second is the role of youth on social media or on media and different platforms are very powerful at the moment, and that sometimes really scares them. So I think these things are making huge changes. I think the second rank of leaders are realizing it, and they have a long future. They will be in politics for another 30, 40 years. So I think they have that realization. So moment these senior leaders give a space to their second ranks, I think that system will be more robust and more in terms of delivery. At the same time, international community also kind of pressurizing them that they should pave way for the second generation to take the democracy forward.
One of the reason why you are having so many governments over the last 10 years is the lack of trust between the voter and political leaders. And day by day, it is increasing as it seems. So, for the voters and the political leaders to minimize this gap, you have made one recommendation that political leaders must deliver. But is there any other factor? For example, India, China, and the global Western connection. Is there any other factor that is contributing to this?
Yes, instability. Obviously, there are different factors that is bringing to instability in the country. One is obviously the political parties are not united. They don't have common vision, a common understanding. They don't believe in the institutions. Behind that, the major factor is also geopolitics, where we are between two largest countries of Asia, China and India. Another is a Democrat, another is a communist system. So one try to influence the Communist Party, other try to influence the Democrats, and that has contributed to instability. I mean, there is no doubt on that. We can clearly see that, and that has been a major factor, in fact, because we always see that it's very difficult for left party to build good relations with India, and again, China do not trust the democratic parties here. So in that situation, it's very challenging for any government to sustain into power. If there's any major changes or any major decision that has to be taken place, the government is at risk. That's why the government also avoid taking any major decision that can really contribute to Nepal's economy sometimes or Nepal's geopolitics sometimes. Government has to just live it. They just want to be in a very comfortable position that can allow the government to last. So that has not worked many times. But at the same time, what is happening is that the political parties are also not united in terms of foreign policy. If they could have a consensus, maybe they can unite and deal with the external players, which is not there. In Nepal, we can see that since both India and China are a power, different political parties try to bring those powers into the country. That's why I always say that in Nepal, the political parties invite intervention, they also entertain, and they also curse. Sometimes the Democrat will invite India to intervene, and the opposition will be unhappy and they will curse, they will not like it. Then one faction will be happy, oh, it's fine, let them create a mess out of it. So there's always, after some time, player can change, other will invite some other intervention, or same with China. So I think this is the situation at the moment where the political parties of Nepal, they try to bring different political actors, especially from the region, and try to make changes in the political coalition. The political parties has been receiving funds, they have been having all kind of connections with different political parties in both the countries.
So, as I was saying to the for the listeners, that you are an author of a book on Nepal's foreign policy in a changing world. So, what role do international human rights organizations play in shaping Nepal's domestic accountability mechanisms?
The Western organization, basically, our international community, has played a very important role in Nepal's democracy. We had a decade-long war, and then we tried to have a peace process where the role of international community was very strong. India, US, and many European countries were involved. So, in Nepal's democratization, in Nepal's human adopting human right laws or trans justice, Europeans especially have a very important role here. It was not very easy to get an armed group into mainstreaming into mainstream. For that, Nepal played a role, and at the same time, international community supported that because we had Maoist combatants, and they later merged into Nepal army. It was not very easy. Some also got voluntary retirement, or they took some back and moved on. In this whole process, Europe role was very important. And at the same time, in promoting human rights, they have been always been a supporter. Third was transitional justice, like when they signed a peace process, Nepal, both sides agreed to abide by TRC, Truth and Reconciliation, and that has progressed a lot. Now we can see it towards the end. It's almost 2 decades, but now I think we'll meet a logical conclusion. And in this whole process, the major support, constitutional follow-up and pressure was from Europe. Because other countries like India, China, and US was not much concerned about transitional justice. It was only Europe who have forced for it, and now we can see it getting implemented. So I think it was very delicate, it was very difficult, but finally we have reached to that situation.
Since you just raised this question of human rights and transitional justice, Nepal's new transitional justice law has been criticized for failing to meet international standards. What are its main shortcomings and how it can be overcome?
Yes, actually, what has happened is that it has been a long delay. I mean, when they came to the peace process at the time, the parties was not serious, especially the Maoists at the time. They were scared. Then they can be, TRC can be used as a tool to sideline them. So they were scared at the time. There was lack of confidence. That's why they delayed for long. Now, when major political parties are together, we also feel that sometimes they have been just, exchanging their ideas. It's like they are just pretending that they are trying to deliver TRC, where the major crime, or we can say major violation, has been sidelined. And that is our concern. But I think the civil society is raising it strongly. It is impossible that they can go the way they want, because we have very robust civil society, the media is very strong, and we also have a strong European interest there, where they have supported peace process and they want it to be delivered in a way that TRC works well, human rights are respected. So I don't think that they will be able to go the way they want, because obviously there are problems, and that will be amended once it moves further. Because at the moment, the government, especially the ruling party, has been able to come together with that. That is one of the greatest achievement. I think in the process, those serious violation of human rights would be addressed, I think.
You said that this impunity for conflict era crimes, it is still there because you started pretty late. What does this conflict era crimes mean for victims and reconciliation? Whether there will be impunity?
Actually, like there is saying that justice delayed is justice denied. So I think there is kind of frustration among the victims that the state has failed to deliver what they have promised. But at the same time, though it's delayed, I think it will be delivered. That is one positive thing. Second, there will be no amnesty. There will be no blanket amnesty for them. Case by case, it will be reviewed, and they'll be charged on that. Even some of the senior leader of Maoist party, or from the government side, from the security forces, will be charged. So that is a kind of setting the example, which will be exemplary at the moment. So I think though it is delayed, there are some shortcomings, but finally I think we'll set a good example, because there are very few examples of peace process around the world, especially when the situation is like so grave, like that was in Nepal.
How are marginalized communities, Dalits, women, and Madhesis being affected by the current political and legal climate? You said only about Madhesis, so probably you can add or highlight the situation of Dalits and women in Nepal.
The new constitution that we got through Constituent Assembly, the elected people have drafted this constitution. And it's the first time we have got that opportunity, that in Nepal's history, the elected representatives came to the Constituent Assembly and drafted the constitution. So there are shortcomings. Madhesi are unhappy. Even some Dalits, women, and other marginalized groups are unhappy. In spite of that, it's one of the most progressive constitution. It is one of the best constitution in whole South Asia, and some of the clauses are based around the world. There are many
Right.
clauses that guarantee women's right. Nepal's constitution guaranteed one-third representation of women. There are different organs where one woman is mandatory. It is so all these changes are there due to the constitution. In terms of delivery, sometimes it's slow, and sometimes there are still loopholes. Sometimes state has not yet fully showed willingness to implement. For example, on federalism, we have federal, but still major power still comes to the center. you know laws are not made. It will take some time, but I think in overall the things are changing. You can see more Madhesis, you can see more Dalits, you can find more women coming to power, coming to bureaucracy, in foreign service, in the military. So those are changes that we have seen in the last 10 years. Now different provinces are developing, few days ago there was a report that how the far western part of Nepal, which was underdeveloped, which was one of the least developed part of Nepal, has transformed in last 2 decades, in a very drastic way. So these things are bringing lots of hope to the people. Obviously, the promises has not been delivered in 100%, but it's increasing. From 40, it has become 60, 80, and we are hopeful that it will increase in days to come, because now people know their rights, and the rights are there in the constitution. Laws are being drafted. So in this whole process, it will take some time. Like democracy, sometimes is slow. It is taking time because we have transformed massively in very short time. We are a monarchy, we became secular. We are unitary, we became federal. We are a Hindu, we became so all these federal, democratic, secular, all has taken place at the same time. And all this system to set up, like federal system, it takes lots of resources. So initially, what I have seen is that lots of resources has been in the setting of institutions, not on delivery. But now those systems are in place. So I think in days to come, there will be more on delivery. And at the same time, people are aware of their rights. They know how to demand the rights, where to demand. And I think it has worked at the moment here in the country.
So I have two last questions and I need quick answers. That what are the most urgent reforms Nepal needs to stabilize its democracy and protect human rights?
I think first is transparency, which is the major demand, and that will control corruption. What is happening is that now people are coming on the street, they are making government accountable, they want transparency, there are different laws that are coming into place, so that will control corruption. That is most important. And with that, what will happen the moment we have corruption is under control, different institutions works, what will happen? The state will function. And when there is proper function of state, every right will be delivered, including human rights. So I think most important at the moment is that people are now want government to be accountable. Media is very vibrant here. They raise demands of the police. They're not scared of the state. So they're coming in a very strong way. So transparency is one. There are different institutions, CIA, which looks at abuse, power abuse, also corruption charges. So that has worked in the country, and that's why you can see that even senior leaders are booked, and people are hopeful that they'll be punished. They have been punished. Many are still into prison. So I think those are positive changes that you see in the moment. So I think most important is accountability. Again, how can we make accountable? I think by awareness that has improved in Nepal. The Nepalese of Nepal are very the youth, common people are very aware. They are politically very aware of their rights and demands. So I think that has also worked in a important way. I think these in this, if you say the most urgent is about accountability, and that has worked.
So the last question, and it's a yes no question. Are you optimistic about Nepal's political future, or are we heading toward deeper polarization in Nepal?
No, I'm very optimistic. I'm very optimistic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
So, listeners, that wraps up today's episode of SADF Talks. A big thank you to Dr. Pramod Jaiswal for sharing his insights on Nepal's political pulse and human rights lens. As Nepal navigates its democratic journey, the voices of its people and the strength of its institutions remain vital. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and join us next time as we continue to explore South Asia's stories that matter. Until then, stay informed and stay engaged. Thank you, Dr. Jaiswal.
Thank you. Thank you so much.